Welcome, Queen. Many women keep saying, why do I keep attracting the same type of people? But what if it's not that you're just attracting the same people? What if you are tolerating, excusing, avoiding, and participating in attracting the wrong people? Well, today, that's exactly what we're talking about. The role that you are playing in the type of people coming into your life. So, am I saying this is your fault? No. I'm not saying you are to blame. What I need you to understand is that fault and participation aren't the same thing. So just because you may be participating in attracting the same people into your life doesn't make it your fault. But what you have to do is get clear on the pattern that keeps attracting these people to you. So let's talk about it. Because you can be hurt by something because it's a pattern that is calling for your attention so that it can be resolved. There are times we participate in dysfunction by these 5 common patterns. Here they are. We stay in relationships after our standards are violated. We avoid necessary conversations in relationships to keep the relationship. We find ourselves constantly explaining or over-explaining instead of making a bold decision. We sit hoping and wishing instead of addressing issues. And we find ourselves in moments or situations where we tolerate something instead of correcting the issue or correcting the problem when we know that there is certainly a problem. And there's no shame in that. But I needed to call your awareness to it because if you're not aware of it, you can't recognize that it is a pattern that you have that is attracting these people to you and keeping these relationships as they are when they may need to shift and sometimes they may actually need to end. And I want you to know that I was this woman. I was sitting and hoping certain relationships and certain patterns in those relationships which would change, but I was not requiring change as necessary. And so the tough lesson for me at that time was to learn and recognize that the pattern didn't change, not because I didn't see it. The pattern in those relationships did not change because I was participating in it. And I kept participating in it. Like I said, thinking, sitting, hoping, wishing it was going to change when I was the one who needed to make a shift in those relationships for them to change. And here's something that I came to learn as I was digging deeper into the issues that we tend to have in our relationships with conflict. And here's something that I came to learn as I was studying deeper on this topic of conflict and how conflict impacts our relationships. Over 69% of conflicts in relationships are perpetual, meaning simply that they are unsolvable, reoccurring issues that are rooted in personality differences or lifestyle differences. And so when you really sit with that and you think about that, that lets you know that while if you're like me, you're sitting and you're hoping, wishing and praying things are going to change, more likely than not, if the issue is rooted and anchored in a personality difference or a lifestyle difference, it may just be time to have a tough conversation because that relationship may need to, like I said before, shift, or it may actually need to end depending on what is the pattern, what is the conflict in that relationship. So here are some things I want you to keep in mind. You two may be different people, but you may be participating in the same pattern. And that pattern is what's keeping you all in relationship. And that means what you tolerate today could quite be the pattern or the conflict that you complain about tomorrow. So again, I want to be clear that hope is not a strategy. Hope will keep you sitting, waiting for something that is likely never going to come, depending on the person you are having an issue or in conflict with. Because you don't break patterns by noticing patterns. You break patterns by moving and acting differently when you see and know you need to address patterns. So again, I want to be clear that participating in a pattern doesn't mean that that pattern is your fault. Participating in a pattern means you have the power to shift how that pattern is impacting you and the relationships you have in your life. Because the pattern survives when nothing changes. So the question for you, Queen, is not just what keeps showing up in your life, but why does it keep having the space to stay in your life? As always, I'm CE Sam telling you that 24 hours doesn't seem long, but in 24 hours, you can change your life. So go ahead and do something life-changing now.